There was a time when the earth belonged to giants. Forests shivered beneath their footsteps. The ground trembled as their hearts. The size of cars beat in unison with the rhythm of a planet that seemed to breathe slower than ours. Their necks rose higher than trees. Their tails swept across rivers like living bridges. And when they exhaled, the world filled with mist, the breath of titans. This was not a world ruled by predators. It was a kingdom of peace and gravity, a reign of patience and power where survival meant endurance, not violence. We call them sauropods, the long-necked giants of the Mesozoic. But they were more than that. They were the Earth's greatest architects of time-sculpting ecosystems, controlling the flow of rivers, shaping entire forests through their feeding and migration. When they walked, they rewrote the land. When they vanished, silence returned, a silence so deep it still echoes through stone. This is their story, the rise, glory, and fall of the most extraordinary creatures to ever live the kingdom of the giants. In the Triassic, the world was young, divided by volcanic scars. The first dinosaurs were small, quick, almost fragile shadows running through fern forests. And then, something changed. Among them, a new lineage began to stretch upward. Their bones grew hollow, light yet strong, their vertebrae filled with air sacs like birds, reducing weight but increasing reach. Their hearts evolved to pump blood through necks longer than a school bus. These early sauropodomorphs, Brachiosaurus, Argentinosaurus, Massospondylus, were experiments of scale. They weren't yet true giants, but they carried the blueprint. Evolution had found a new language size. By the Jurassic, the world's climate shifted wetter, warmer, lush with vegetation, the perfect stage for growth, and the sauropods answered. From their ranks rose Volcanodon, Sauroposaurus, Shunosaurus creatures that turned forests into seas of green motion. They didn't just survive, they expanded, multiplied, and filled every continent. Their size became strategy, their enormity, protection. By existing, they reshaped life itself. The age of the small ended, the age of the giants began. The Jurassic dawned like a cathedral, humid, endless, alive. Every continent was a rainforest, and through this paradise walked the gods of bone and breath, Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Camarasaurus. They moved in herds the size of cities. From afar, they looked like rivers of flesh flowing across the horizon, each step pressed into mud that would harden into memory. Their shadows stretched for miles. Brachiosaurus stood like a living tower, front legs longer than its hind ones, a heart capable of sending blood up 8 meters. Diplodocus, the whip-tailed wanderer, was so long it could bridge 2 rivers at once. Supersaurus, Dreadnoughtus, Patagotitan names born centuries later, but each a poem to the impossible. How did they eat enough to live? They stripped entire forests, moving constantly, never overfeeding a single region. Their migrations created renewal. Young plants grew where they passed, fertilized by their waste, spread by their travel. They were not destroyers. They were gardeners of the earth. In their presence, the planet thrived, and for 100 million years, no predator dared challenge their supremacy. The world had found balance, the quiet rule of giants. How can something that big even exist? It's one of evolution's boldest questions. To lift a 60-ton body, you need more than muscle. You need engineering. Nature answered with hollow bones, massive hearts, and lungs that worked like bellows. Air sacs ran from their ribs into their vertebrae, a system later perfected by birds. Every breath cycled through the entire body, filling even their bones with oxygen. Their skeletons were lightweight lattices, strong as bridges, yet porous as coral. Even their necks obeyed physics, each vertebra locked into the next with ligaments that distributed tension like suspension cables. Their tails counterbalanced the weight, acting as biological cranes. And, perhaps most remarkable of all their growth, sauropods grew fast, very fast. They reached adulthood in as little as 20 years. outpacing any predator's ability to kill them. Their eggs were small, but their herds immense. Life ensured itself through numbers. They were walking ecosystems, energy flowing through forests, air, and soil in rhythmic harmony. To study them is to study how far life can stretch the limits of physics before breaking. For decades, we thought the largest dinosaurs lived in North America. Then, the ground of Patagonia began to speak. In the early 2000s, teams uncovered bones so vast they defied logic. Argentinosaurus, Patagonia, each one over 35 meters long, weighing up to 70 tons. Their bones were so big that excavating them felt like mining buildings. Unlike their northern cousins, these titans lived in open floodplains, where humidity met wind, perfect conditions for enormous size. Their necks curved like bridges over the horizon. Their hearts pumped rivers of blood. Their footsteps left craters that filled with rain and became ponds. They moved slowly, but the earth itself moved with them. Each herd was a weather system. Each migration reshaped the land. And yet, for all their power, they lived gently. They didn't roar or fight. They simply existed in quiet harmony with gravity. In Patagonia's fossil beds, the bones lie in layers, not of violence, but of time. It's as if the giants simply lay down one evening, and the world forgot to wake them. In Africa and Asia, other titans evolved in secret. Brachiosaurus in Tanzania, Mamenchisaurus in China, its neck alone stretching 15 meters. The longest ever discovered. These were forest giants, weaving through trees like living cranes. In their world, light filtered through canopies that reached higher than cathedrals. Their necks rose and fell like tides of motion. Each swing of the head stripped dozens of leaves, their teeth working not to chew but to rake, slicing vegetation and swallowing it whole. Their stomachs were fermentation chambers, filled with gas and heat internal ecosystems that digested the forests themselves. When they exhaled, they changed the atmosphere. More carbon, more life, more rain. The forest grew because the giants fed it. They weren't part of nature's cycle, they were the cycle. Even in their disappearance, the trees remember them. Fossilized trunks in China and Africa still bear feeding scars from teeth, long gone bite marks turned into stone. The earth recorded every gesture. No empire stands alone. Even the giants had shadows. In the Jurassic, predators evolved alongside them. Allosaurus, Torvosaurus, Ceratosaurus. They couldn't kill an adult sauropod, but they could target the young, the weak, the lost. Fossil trackways show chaos footprints of small sauropods scattering, predators flanking from both sides. And yet, even in fear, the giants had protection unity. When threatened, herds formed circles, the adults outside, the young in the middle, tails lashed like whips. A single strike could break a predator's ribs. Over time, this arms race drove both sides to extremes. Sauropods grew larger, predators grew smarter, and nature found balance not in peace, but in tension. When Allosaurus fell, others took its place. Mapusaurus, Giganotosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus. Still, none ruled long. The giants endured, adapting to every hunter, because power in nature isn't dominance, it's persistence. For 100 million years, they lived under the constant gaze of hunger, and still, they prevailed. But every reign has its twilight. As the Cretaceous unfolded, the Earth changed again. Volcanoes thickened the air, continents drifted apart. The lush, humid world that birthed the giants dried into dust. Forests thinned. Grasslands spread. The giants who needed endless food began to vanish one by one. In South America, Argentinosaurus fell silent. In Africa, Paralititan disappeared with the receding seas. In Asia, Mamenchisaurus dwindled into extinction. Predators adapted smaller, faster, hungrier, but the great plant eaters, bound to size, couldn't turn back. They were built for abundance, not scarcity. When the meteor struck at the end of the Cretaceous, their kingdom was already dying. The fire in the sky only sealed what time had begun. The world of giants ended, not with war, but with silence. A silence that still hums in the bones we dig today. And yet, they're not gone. Their shadows linger everywhere. Every giraffe's neck, every elephant's slow gait, every tree that rises toward the sun, all echo the rhythm they began. Even the air we breathe carries traces of their work. Their forests trapped carbon, cooled the climate, nurtured life for millions of years after they vanished. When paleontologists unearth a sauropod bone, they're not just studying anatomy, they're touching the architecture of time. Each fossil is a chord in Earth's long symphony. Their bones, massive yet hollow, taught engineers about structure and resilience. Their breathing system inspired the study of avian lungs. Their scale changed the way we think about biology itself. They may be gone, but their physics remains. Their silence became our understanding. Their endurance became our inheritance. And in the dust of Patagonia, the earth still dreams of them. Imagine standing where they once walked. The air warm, thick with ferns and sound. You tilt your head upward and see nothing but sky and movement. A creature so large it blocks the sun, moving not with power, but grace. There is no roar, no fight, only the rhythm of life at its most immense and most gentle. The kingdom of the giants was not built on conquest. It was built on harmony, a pact between muscle and gravity, between hunger and patience. They remind us that greatness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums quietly through the ages, beneath our feet, inside our breath. When we find their bones, we're not just unearthing the past. We're touching the part of the earth that once dared to dream in sizes we can barely imagine. The giants are gone, but the world they made, the forests, the skies, the balance remains our inheritance. The ground still remembers their weight, and every step we take is an echo of theirs.